Welcome. These sessions will be recorded. I'm pleased you could join us for the Business Education Resilience webinars with 1917. My name is Pauline Marquardt, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, which is made up of members with common interests and concerns related to the business environment in the Bowie area. It is the primary professional business trade organization in the Greater Bowie area dedicated to the protection, enhancement, and success of businesses in the Bowie community. The Bowie COVID-19 Business Recovery Assistance Program delivers online technical assistance to help Bowie businesses accelerate their post-pandemic economic recovery. This program is a collaboration between the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce and the Bowie Business Innovation Center Business Accelerator and funded by the City of Bowie. During this webinar, it is best to be comfortable with your video on. Remember to mute yourself. Please ask questions to the chat unless otherwise directed. Welcome, William Eric Lindsay, Senior Business Counselor of 1917. Hi, glad to have you here.
Hey, Pauline, how you doing? Glad to see everyone here. And I just want to say thank you, Pauline, for that great introduction. And I also want to say thank you to the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce and yourself, and particularly yourself and your board and the president of your board for selecting my company and myself and my fantastic team in putting on these webinars. As you know, this is a two-section 25 or 24 webinar series. And we've started way back in January of this year. It seems like such a long time ago, and it really wasn't. It was just a few months ago, 6 months ago. And the time has flown, and that's what they say is when you're having fun, time flies. And we've all been having fun doing these webinars and presenting as many topics as possible on business education and business resiliency, especially in the post-COVID or towards the end, I guess, of the COVID pandemic session here in our area in the United States. And just giving as much information as possible to small business owners and finding ways not only to establish your goals, which we started again in January, and then we did a second set of seminars and webinars. So we start off with starting your goals, looking at financial literacy, looking at the PPP and the EIDL program, even having experts on who are experts in the food industry, in the restaurant industry. So we've had a number of people on these webinars, and we have a lot more to come. So I believe this is number 10, I believe, in our series. And we have like 2 more webinars coming up, 2 or 3 more webinars coming up. And, for this webinar, what we're going to do is we definitely want to have as much interaction as possible. We certainly want you to be engaged in this webinar series today. We are certainly going to talk about some business planning. We're going to be talking about how to exit your business. And this is a big part of what we're talking about. So think about ways of, in terms of before I get into the webinar, think about when you first started your business. Did you ever ask yourself, how on earth am I going to leave my business? And if you're thinking of that question now and you're going, that's an odd question. And it is an odd question because not many people who start a business would actually say, hey, I just started my business, now I want to get out of it. But that's a very important question for many different reasons. I don't like the word retire. I don't like it because, I don't know, I guess my dad, he passed away in 2008, but my dad he never liked the word. Even though when I was a kid, he never looked forward to retiring from a corporate perspective. He always said, I'm going to do something next in my life. What's the next phase of my life when my company says I'm not supposed to be here because of some age requirement? But he never retired. He just did something else. And when I started doing this webinar and I started doing my business coaching and my small business advisory services, it was kind of like, wow, whenever you build your business, you always want to think, what am I going to do next when my business is complete? Right? Think of it in those perspectives. Think of it from that angle per se. So what I like to do is I'd like to share my screen with you. Let's see. Well, maybe I need to, let me just cancel that. Let me open up my PowerPoint slide. Yep, let me share my PowerPoint slides with you. And again, I would love for you guys to be very interactive in this particular webinar series, this particular webinar. All right. So here we go. So again, just want to thank everyone who's here and anyone in the future who's listening to this webinar series, this particular webinar, because this is recorded. So I want to thank you for listening to it on YouTube at the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce link that Pauline is going to share with us at the end of this this recording. So again, my name is William E. Lindsay. I'm a business coach and small business consultant. I'm the owner of 1917, and that's my information right there. That's my email, and you can always reach out to me whenever you can. So again, I kind of talked a little bit about this, but today we're going to definitely talk about what is meant by finishing your business. We're going to talk a little bit about some steps towards finishing your business, some things you should do before you exit, and definitely some exit strategies. And I want to acknowledge one person who's here, and I'm going to mention him later in the webinar, because this is someone that you also need to have as part of your team when you exit your business. He knows who I'm talking to, so I'm gonna pick on him in a few minutes, but I would love to hear from him, because when you do your exit strategy, this is someone that you should talk to right now at the beginning stages or at the early stages of your business. So he knows what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna pick on him in a minute. So I'm giving him a heads up. So what do I mean by finishing your business? Well, when we started this webinar series, we talked about setting your goals. We talked about goal setting and the importance of goal setting. And we also started about talking about the reason why you started your business. What's your why? Why did you quit your job and started your business? There's a reason for it, is your why. But you also created your business plan. You also, you started your business plan, you created your business plan, and you started doing, all the right things to get your business going and up and running and all those beautiful things, those hard things, but they're beautiful. So then you started your business. You had a reason why, you created your business plan. I'm hoping everyone has a business plan. Then you actually implemented your business plan. You started your business plan. You started making money. You started doing those things, or you got a bank loan and you started, or a family loan, or a friends investment loans, as I call them as well. Then you started hiring other people to run the business for you. You started expanding your business. You grew your business, then you scaled your business so that you can actually hire a general manager to take over your business. So now you're at a place where you're literally just watching your business grow. You're working 5 or 6 hours a week. You're not so involved. You've empowered other decision makers in your business to be decision makers, to sort of take over that business and have that role. You have an executive role in your business so that you can actually just enjoy the fruits of your labor. So your business is running on cruise control now. I call that in business success, right? You've gone from working 100 hours a week to about 5 hours a week, if that's one of your goals in running your business. Now that you have all this extra time in front of you, you have 5 hours a week, and you're thinking, what am I going to do with the other 95 hours? Because I used to work 100 hours a week. Now what? What am I going to do? Am I going to, do a different hobby or travel or different things like that? What are you going to do now? And what are you going to do next? Are two important questions that you should consider, especially when you have your business set up in such a way that it's actually running on its own. That's kind of what you want to look at and ask yourself those questions. One of your options is to exit your business. Even though you're working, you set your business up 100 hours a week, you've technically exited your business. I like to call it, you're firing yourself out of your business, because you're hiring other people who are like you to build your business, to run your business, and to do those things that you would like to do for your business. So it's a very serious, and it's a personal question to ponder, right? It's extremely personal. Because this is, when you build your business, you're talking about your baby in some cases. You're talking about that emotional connection that you have with this thing that you created from scratch. Your dream, your goal, your why. This is yours. So in moving forward and asking yourself, what on earth am I going to do? You obviously want to tap into the wealth of relationships that you've created over the years. All the networks that you've done, all the people that love you and take care of you, want to see you continue to succeed. You work with many with as many of your trusted advisors as you can. Okay? Trusted advisors. Now, your trusted advisors could be your family and other fellow business owners that you developed a very strong relationship with. Your lawyer, any kind of lawyer that you've worked with, your business lawyer, your tax lawyer. Okay? You also want to talk to your CPA and tax accountant, which I also include your financial strategist in that conversation, because that's a lot of your, like in your insurance needs. How are your insurance needs covered? Your tax accountant, well, how do you offset future income? How do you ensure that your business is continuing to grow over time? Your CPA also should know that. Your CFO, for example, is part of that conversation. Your business banker, as we know, last year with PPP and EIDL, you know, if you had a great relationship with your business banker, it really helped you in moving forward in applying for that PPP and your EIDL loan, because there were things in there that your business banker at your local bank, whether it was a small local bank, CDFI, or a large multinational corporation bank, get to know them personally, because then they will help you in that exiting process. Your business coach, that's me. Of course, you got to have me as part of that conversation, because each of us have a different angle, a different perspective, a different piece of that pie per se, a different perspective that you as the business owner can put together and really ask yourself these questions. How on earth am I going to exit my business? What am I going to do? And again, other people that you may consult with, your very close loved ones, your wife, your husband, the people that are very close to you, your chamber president. You know, Pauline is the executive director. If you have a great relationship with your chamber executive director, bring that person into that fold, because they also see a different future in terms of what they're looking at. So, you know, we talk about the financial strategist, and I have to admit, there's one financial strategist who's on the webinar right now, and he's actually going to be doing a webinar pretty soon. And so I want to call Ardal to really kind of maybe give like a 2-minute thing about exiting your business, and from his perspective, what are 2 things that we should consider, Ardal, in terms of exiting your business from your perspective, from a financial strategist in the world that you come from?
Well, thanks for asking. You've actually touched on really the most important ones. Exiting a business isn't just a business decision, it's a life decision. And if you haven't thought about it in advance and you get there and you think, what am I going to do next? And you're not prepared, well, then you're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that you want. So the further in advance, you know, if you've read Stephen R. Covey, then beginning with the end in mind is the second of the 6 habits of highly effective people. So it's fundamental to building a business, is what do you want to get out of it when you decide the process is over? And that's another thing. Do you want to decide when to exit the business, or do you want someone else to decide? If you leave everything up to the question of finding the right buyer and getting the right price, then you're not in control of that timing or that decision. So again, the sooner you start thinking about strategies for the next phase of your life, the more options you're going to have. Yeah. So the only other point I would bring up, sort of frame to think about this in, is your business is more than likely the biggest asset and the biggest liability in your personal financial profile. So it pays to think of it as an investment, in the same way that you think of other investments that are going to produce value for you in the future. There are strategic ways to do that that will give you perspectives and help you see possibilities that you may not think of if you're just thinking of it as a cash machine to pay your salary and maybe accumulate some value to sell to someone else. So all those conversations are more effective the sooner you can have them.
That's so perfectly said, Ardo, and I'm so happy that you joined us as you normally do. You kind of sneak in every now and then. I'm like, I got to find a way to pick on Ardo, but I so appreciate because this is actually something that you deal with, and this is something that, as Ardo in his professional career for decades, Ardo is one of that. He's one of those pieces of the pie that you should talk to when you exit your business. And exactly what he said is the strategy part. Is I love the way you just said that, Ardo, where the business itself is a great asset and it's also a great liability that has to be addressed when you exit your business. And again, this is again from a financial strategist perspective, it's a great way of looking at it because you want to be able to manage that. And how do you set yourself up to walk away in terms of these strategies, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, in terms of moving forward in a very strategic way, but also in a very strategic financial way, not just an emotional way, in a very like sort of like a mindset way. So you certainly want to cover your bases so that whoever you're leaving behind in terms of the business, or to set you up to maintain that lifestyle that you have. Because that's a big part of what we're talking about here, is sort of maintaining that lifestyle that you would like to have. And even as you move to the next phase of your life, again, we're not going to talk about retirement. We're going to move to the next phase of whatever else that you build. And remember, exiting your business to me, is not a function of age. It's a function of just, you can build your business in 2 years. You can build your business in 5 years, and you can be 25 years old. What's next for you? What's your next idea? What's your next thing? So let's remove age from this. I want us to think about it in the sense of, this is what we're doing next. It's like you build your sandcastle. Okay, I built it. What's next? So think of it in those terms. So one of the things in terms of planning your exit, and I would admit that doing this now is so important, is go back to your business plan. When I work with my clients and the businesses that I work with, and the contracts that I have, through God's blessing, is I always ask people in the very beginning, okay, let me see your business plan. Where's your exit strategy section of your business plan? And it's not there. I can tell you 100% of the time, it's not there. And when I don't see it, I think that's great, because it's a great opportunity to start talking about that issue. And it gives the business owner something to think about with their family and friends, regardless of age. So refer back to your business plan. Put that in as part of your business plan. So start with the end in mind. What is your business going to look like when you exit? Where do you want it to be from a revenue perspective, from an organizational chart perspective, from a profit perspective, from your time perspective? I remember I started off with saying, we build our businesses 100 hours a week. And that's actually true. You spend so much time thinking and doing and building your business, right? It becomes part of your DNA. At some point, you want to do something else. So you fire yourself from your business. So start with the end in mind. And again, ensure you are in alignment with your decision to enter this exit phase. You want to start understanding, when I begin to think of exiting my business, what does that decision point look like? Is it a revenue decision? Is it an organization decision? Is it a time decision? Or is it all of that? Because as Ardo said, you want to be in control of your exit. You don't want to have an externality forcing you out of your business, because that creates a stress. That creates a bad decision. In some cases it does, because you're under duress and you don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction. So plan this out. Okay, now you don't have to be 100% precise from the beginning, but at least be in the ballpark, as we say, in terms of planning your exit, and when those decision-making triggers kick in. What are some of those triggers that kick in to begin thinking of your exit? And what are some of the things you'd like to do? That's a very important question. I sometimes take my clients through is, okay, now that we're talking about exit, write down 10, 15 things you would like to do. What is your future possibility that you would like to do at the end of your business? Doesn't matter. Just write it down. Make it part of your business plan. Now, I'm sure some people are going to say, well, hey, Coach Eric, my business plan has to go to the business banker. Yeah, I get that. But your business plan, number one, is for you. When you write your business plan for funding, you can have a separate business plan for that. You don't have to necessarily put that in there. But at the same time, your business plan is for you. Number one, it's for you and your business. So you want to write down what are some of the things you would like to do. Do you have any questions so far, Pauline? I'm trying to track questions. I don't see any. Oh, you're muted. No? Okay. And again, if anyone else has questions, please just chime in, I think it's the raise your hand function, or you can unmute yourself and just go ahead and ask the question. This has to be interactive. I love interactive webinars because it's just, it's just what we do. So a few exit tactics. As Ardal said, there's some strategies that we have to consider. So these are about these are 5 general exit strategies that I like to do. So again, we think of options. What are some of the options you have on the day of your exit? Okay. So here's one option. You can remain with your company and continue to be the leader full-time. That's an exit strategy. You can stay with the company. People have chosen to do that as their exit. Well, I'm no longer going to be full-time at business, but I'd rather remain with my company as a leader, in a company full-time. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, you just have to be ready for what that looks like. You can sell your company 100%. Get rid of it, sell it. Find a business evaluator and sell your company. So that is something that you certainly want to be aware of. And you certainly want to be cognizant of, if you're going to sell your company, how much money do you want to get out of your company? Right? Number one. And number two, if that valuation matches what you want to get out of your company. Here's the interesting part with this particular strategy. If you want to sell your company, let's just say you want to sell your company for, I don't know, $250,000. All right, let's just use a fair number. You want to get $250,000 out of your company, but a year from your exit, remember the time frame here, your company is valuated at $190,000, or it's valuated at $200,000. There's certain things that you have to do to get your business valuation up $50,000 or more so that you can get $250,000 out of your company. That is possible. So now you have to bring in people and experts who can actually understand business valuation, and then understand improving and enhancing the value of your company. And in a previous webinar, I did a presentation on business valuation and business equity. So if you go back in the YouTube link that Pauline's going to share, you can go back and look at how to improve your equity and improve your business valuation by doing certain things in the business. Now, those aren't very prescriptive. What's prescriptive is going to be when someone like myself comes into your business and says, okay, these are the things that will help you improve valuation and equity in your business. That's the webinar. I think that's the webinar that's going to help you answer that question, or help you guide you through some of those questions. You can sell a portion of your company, a third, a tenth, 99%. You can sell a portion. And what that means is you can actually bring someone in. You can bring a business partner in. At that point, you can say, okay, I want to bring a management team who's just going to manage my company, but then you can sell a portion of your company. And again, it's all about the contract. Nothing's official until you have a meeting of the minds, you negotiate properly, and then things are signed and agreed upon, or agreed upon then signed. Make sure you have a business lawyer involved in this process, and make sure you have those team of people involved in this exit process, okay? So you could just sell a portion of your company. I thought I saw a question pop up about nonprofits.
Correct. It says, does this apply to the nonprofits? But I think
Yeah.
we need a little bit more information.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, this does apply to a nonprofit. I've seen in many nonprofits who are part of a business, I would say, or it's the same owner, and they belong to the owner who also owns a for-profit company. So the nonprofit is part of that. Yeah, it's an entity. It's a legal business entity. So yes, These are things that you can actually consider for nonprofits. There are some other local jurisdictional laws, state by state, that you have to be aware of. So I would always recommend getting a business attorney involved in that conversation, because there are some 501c 1, 2, 3 up to I think 14, 15, and 16, I believe. There's C6s and things like that. So you certainly want to be aware of the legal ramifications and the restrictions on that particular sale. So certainly get in touch with a business lawyer for that particular conversation. Thank you for that question. I definitely appreciate it. You can become a majority owner of your company. You can actually, as one strategy, maintain majority of your company and strategize in the other 49% of the other half of your company. If that's an option, that's something that you want to do. You can still have your foot in the door. You can be a silent partner. You can give up your management rights. There's a lot of ways of doing this, a lot of ways of ensuring what your exit's going to look like. You can become a minority partner, the opposite of the other one. You can own less of your company. Now, what's really important about this is about, again, remember, we're talking about your exit. We're talking about when you've completed your business, but we're also talking about how to maintain the lifestyle that you would like to have. So when you build your business, you're building a lifestyle. You're not just building another job. You're building a lifestyle, okay? So how do you want to maintain that lifestyle? Each of these overarching 30,000 foot strategies, and you can actually combine some of these tactics. You want to be sure that, you're not doing this for free. There's a way of getting paid for this, for your exit, okay? Another way to do is you can fully retire from your company. If your company has a retirement program, you can opt out to retire, okay? Take a step back. You're an owner, you can retire. Now, what does retirement look like? Again, I don't like the word retire, but legally there is that retirement pay, for example, in your new transition of what you're going to be doing next, I would call it. So think of it in those terms. Again, this is about financially being sustainable to maintain your business that you've created and also maintain yourself. Or you can leave your company outright and become an advisor to your own company. So you can sell 100% of your company and then turn around and say, well, hey, I know this company better than anyone else. So hire me back as a consultant on a certain contract. You can negotiate that. Again, these aren't things that are definitive that you must do. These are just a few considerations. You can actually combine some of these situations because you can monetize each of these options, right? Say you become a minority partner, but you have a less management role. You can negotiate the decisions will be finalized by the management team. However, I would like to be a consultant to that management team if I own 33% of the company or something like that. You can negotiate this. Okay, nothing, again, it's just based upon your creativity of how you manage your company, right? So these are just at the beginning phases when you talk about the end now, these are just options you want to look at and at least be prepared for when you get ready for that trigger of exiting down the road. So at least you have a little bit of knowledge saying, hey, I can actually manage this now. It's easier to learn something now and be ready for the future than, like what Ardo said, for it to be sort of like forced upon you and then you have to take a knee-jerk reaction. So these are just a few of the high-level options that you can actually do in your business. So are there any other questions from anyone? I don't see any. Pauline, I think we're okay. Thumbs up. All right.
I have a question, Eric.
Sure, Dottie.
When you have the first option, remain within your company and continue to be the leader full time, can you break that down? What does that mean? And if you continue to be the lead, are you still the same, CEO or managing director, whatever you call yourself? How does it work?
In this particular example, I would leave it up to your creativity. But here's one option. Could you be the face of the company? let's just say if everyone knew you and you are the face of the company, could you continue being the face of the company, be the representative, the public representative of the company? Now, that can take on many facets, okay? And again, it's all upon the creativity of how you manage that particular negotiation, how you manage that particular set of rules that you would like to have. You can spend less time doing that or more time in the decision-making process, but it's also the perception. Let's say if you build a brand on trust, and people who associate the company with your face, the marketing face, for example, or the leader of the company, that's a trusted brand. So if you remove that trusted brand, that has a negative impact on the equity of the company. So to maintain the equity of the company, you could remain as the face of the company from a public perspective, a marketing perspective, or a trusted perspective, but then have a lesser role internally into the company. So you're not doing the day-to-day, you're not managing it, but you still need to know what's going on because you still are the trusted face, but you're not doing that hand-holding aspect of it. So that's just a creative way of doing it and thinking about it. And again, it is situational to the business that you're in. So every organization is different. You can have two exact similar nonprofits or for-profit companies, and they have totally different strategies and tactics. Nothing is cookie cutter, and it shouldn't be cookie cutter. It has to be very specific to that organization structure. So that's one way I would look at in terms of remain with your company and continue being sort of like a leader full time. Does that answer your question? Does that help?
It does. I am kind of doing that without even realizing what I'm doing, just by what you just described. I'm not even thinking of exiting, although I'm peeling back a lot of things I used to do, the day-to-day, the managing. I'm just giving quite a few things to other people because I simply can't afford to do them anymore. I need to focus, like you said, focus more to be the leader, to be the face of the brand. And so in a way, I guess I'm gradually exiting without knowing that I'm doing that. It just occurred to me that I'm kind of doing that.
Nice. Well, congratulations. That's to me, that sounds like a huge success personally for you, that you're transitioning and you're doing those things. And I'm so glad that you're here because this is so fitting for exactly where you are. And well, can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Are the people that you're bringing into this exit process, is there anyone that's unique to your organization, that do what you're doing that we haven't touched on?
Not yet. I'm still looking for that right hand, like a partner, someone who could basically take on a lot of things that have been doing. Right now, I'm kind of assigning different tasks to various people, but I wanted to find that one individual who could just take off and become the me with the operational side, and I will focus on the external side.
Nice. Well, congratulations. I wish you much success in that process. And if you don't mind, I would love to talk to you for, just to give you some ideas based on your specific company. And I will take this offline, but I'm open to that. If you want to sit and chat just for like an hour or so, I would love to get into some details. And I have a couple ideas that come to mind of how you can manage that. And I would love to share that with you if that's okay with you.
Sure. Thanks.
No problem. No problem. Just put, you can private message me or private message Pauline with your contact information. I'll be more than happy to set up a meeting with you. No strings attached, nothing like that. But I would love to share ideas with you if that's okay.
Okay, I'll send you a note with my contact information. Thank you, Eric.
No problem, Dottie. I appreciate that. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So again, as Dottie mentioned, all of this requires some structure that she's working on, and this is such a great segue to this last point. You want to have that formal structure. and the documentation that goes behind it to ensure that, number one, you track it. Number two, you test it. And number three, you document it for obvious reasons, for legal reasons, because it is a business transition. You're changing legal documents, you're changing your incorporation documents, you're changing a whole bunch of different things. So you certainly want to be able to have those things legally processed, for example, for tax reasons and all of those other reasons. So let's see. Thank you, Dottie. I got it. So, oops, before I do that. So again, these are just a couple of ideas that we can talk about here. You know, there's so many different ways of doing this. There's so many different ways of exiting your business. These are just a few of the highlights of it. And like what Dottie mentioned, there's just different ways of looking at your business from a unique perspective. And again, you may have multiple owners in the company, and each person may want to exit differently. So this is why it's so important to plan what you're doing, so that each of the business owners and the partners know exactly where they are at every step of the game. All the expectations are established up front, and all that is laid out, because if you want to have that open communication, you want to have that honesty up front. You want to be sure how people actually doing all those things. So yeah. So that's one reason why I always say start early. You know, don't wait till you get. And I've seen some family businesses where huge fights turn out to be, you know, not a good thing. You don't want to be in that situation. So you want to have that gradual, deliberate, you know, sensitive conversation as a group of individuals over a long period of time. Hey, if you have the right people, it might take 5 minutes. I've seen it happen. But in most cases, it does take a lot of planning. It does take that emotional conversation to say, this is what I want for me as an individual and my family in moving forward, especially as a partnership business. So with that, that's really a lot of what I have. You know, that's really a lot more about the exit stuff. And I'm wondering, hey, Ardo, I know you're coming up with your presentation probably in the next week or two. And if there's, don't give it away just now, but if there's anything you want to add to this, especially from your financial perspective side.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, I mentioned earlier when you asked about my take on strategizing an exit, the notion of thinking of the business as an investment asset. And one of the key concepts in investing is diversification. So that means a lot of different things. It basically boils down to not putting all your eggs in one basket. So if all the value in your business is assigned to growth, then it's all at risk. And that's not a comfortable position to be in. It's where a lot of businesses are, especially sole proprietors. You know, people have all these assets in the business, and when people create a surplus, the first instinct is to put that surplus back into the business, first of all, to avoid current taxes, and secondly, to grow the business, to produce more revenue. And then you repeat that cycle on and on and on. That actually makes the exit process worse because you're growing value inside the business, so you're putting more and more pressure on finding exactly the right formula for extracting that value when you leave. Very often it's worth, and this is another reason why it's a good idea to start thinking about this early. If you can be taking money out of the business as you go along, you've got more than one asset to deal with, and they can work interactively. You can move money back and forth between the business and your personal assets. It's a lot easier to put money into the business when it needs it than it is to take it out for personal reasons. And accountants and attorneys often advise putting cash outside the business for asset protection reasons and to reduce taxation. So those are also things that can help with an exit strategy, because when you come to that point and a buyer appears, there's two things that have happened. One is that you as an individual are less the sole representative of that business, or if it's a group, same thing. You've all performed the same steps. But secondly, you don't have your back to the wall when it comes to negotiating a sale. You've already taken value out of the business as you go along. If you're smart, you've put it somewhere where it's growing tax-free. But that means if somebody offers you a price that you're not happy with, you can just wait it out and you can say, no, thanks, I don't think that's the right offer. Whereas if you were dependent on that, on a sale happening to liquidate your business, again, you'd have fewer options. So there's all those different mindsets that come with thinking of the business as an investment asset that you wouldn't necessarily think of the way people normally do when doing business planning.
That's a great point, Arnold, the financial aspect of it. You're so right. It's easier to put money in the business than to take and to track it and take it out in a very consistent manner, and sort of realizing I like the second point, especially you mentioned, was the valuation of your company. Is that when you sell it, something that we talked about earlier, when you sell that company or you see your valuation, and this is something that I talked about earlier as well, is, you know, you have that, sometimes you have those real estate sites that talk about the valuation of your home. You know, everyone looks at that and says, ooh, my home valuation went up 2% or 5%. We don't do that with our businesses. You know, it's very important for us to do that with our businesses, because sometimes if someone, if they're tracking your company, and sometimes you don't even know they're tracking it, they see your small successes, but they're very impressed with it. They may offer you $1 million for your company. And most people I've asked on this webinar said they will take it. But then when I turn around and said, but what if you do an evaluation of your company and your company is actually worth 1.5 million? You just gave away $500,000. So sometimes you really want to get at a certain point in your business, you certainly want to do evaluation of your company, just like how you evaluate your home and your car and your life insurance and all the insurance stuff that you have. You certainly want to be very educated in terms of, hey, you know what? I have this system in place, or I invented this, or I have this at the patent and trademark office, and someone's really interested. Do an evaluation. You know, use the evaluation system, the 5 or 6 ways of getting your company evaluated, because that's an asset. And yeah, go ahead.
My take on that is that you just alluded to the fact there's 5 or 6 ways of valuing a company. My point would be the buyer and the seller are never going to agree on which is the right way to do that.
Yep.
And so you're going to have a contest over what the value is. And in order to play well in that contest, the less you have at stake, the better you're going to play, because you can take more risk.
Yep.
You can risk the buyer walking away and saying, I'm not going to pay your price. Whereas if all your value is dependent on the outcome of that negotiation, that's not a risk you really want to take, because you might get no deal. All right.
That's very true. Very true.
In my way of thinking, it should be win-win or no deal.
Yep.
But you don't know who you're dealing with. Your co-respondent might not think that way.
Yep. That's very true.
So you want to give yourself the most wiggle room and your potential buyer the least. And you do that by giving yourself options.
100%, Arnold. 100%. And that's so key. It's just, you know, having that knowledge and that information in your back pocket is so good for that negotiation stance. And again, it helps you with the win-win, because you had time to evaluate what you want to walk away with. You know, you had time to, it's the BATNA. You know, you have time to understand your BATNA, your BATNA. And then once you're comfortable with that, your BATNA has ranges. This is your min, this is your max, and you can fit within that range. For example, it's your best alternative to negotiation agreement, your BATNA. And once you know your min and your max and you're comfortable in this area, but you have the knowledge and the power of, I know the valuation of my company, you can create that win-win situation you just mentioned. So the knowledge part is so key. but it's also having those advisors like yourself and myself and your business banker and your lawyer on your side, putting that together. So it's so important to have that. Yeah, thanks for that, Arlo. I definitely appreciate it. It's a great tip. And Arlo's going to be here next week, Arlo. I think Arlo's on next week or the week
a couple
after.
of weeks. Isn't that right, Pauline? 24th, I recall.
I think it's the 24th. I think that's right, the 24th. You're after our doctor of marketing, Dr. Terry Levin. She's coming on next week. So I don't know if she's back from Mexico or she's back in the States in Connecticut. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, the marketing person, Dr. Levine, great person to listen to as well. So be on here next week. And then Arlo will be back the week after, then I'll do a closeout after. But again, this is just a few tactics for exiting your business. So as we exit our business, we're going to exit our PowerPoint presentation. If you want to get in touch with me, these are my websites. I just launched a new website. It's called WilliamMarkLindsay.com. It's linked to my 1917 company. So I have two websites for my company. But please email me at welindsay@1917.com for any more information regarding this. So like I said, next week we're going to have Dr. Terry Levin. She's amazing. If you go back to the old webinar, she talks about how to create leads get those leads into your sales funnel. That's money right there. Yeah, that's money. Arlo has some experience with Dr. Levine. She's actually she's in our closed networking group. Actually, we do some work with her as well. And I always look forward to talking to her. She's a fascinating person to talk to in terms of what she's done over the past 30, 40 years in terms of her field. And then the week after that, we're going to have Arlo. We're going to have that really cool voice that you heard. We'll definitely see his face again. And there he is. So I just want to say, hey, Pauline, we'll turn it over to you. I want to say thank you. I know this was a really quick webinar, but it was packed with a lot of information and some great tips and advice for a lot of folks here in our chamber. So thank you, Pauline.
You're welcome. Thank you. Again, very informative. I have lots of notes that I did open up my folder, and you're absolutely right with the lineup of our next speakers. So I'm going to put up the poll. And here we go. So thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment and answer the exit poll questions. Another informative webinar by 1917 LLC. Thank you so much, William. And now more than ever, we need business plans and exit strategies. So this concludes our event. Thanks so much. See you next week.
Take care. Thank you.